Hi folks, today's lesson is about vectors. Now you might have heard of vectors before. If you've ever watched Despicable Me, you might know this guy. His name is Vector, and when you first see him in the first scene, he talks about the fact he has direction and magnitude. And actually that's completely true. He's talking about an actual vector mathematically and scientifically. It's from Despicable Me. I'm sure you were young enough to watch that when it came out. But anyway, what is a vector? You have seen it mathematically when you've done this, a translation. And what we did with the translation is we just picked the shape up and moved it. And we had this thing called a vector, which told us how to move this shape. So for instance, if the vector was 1, -2, that means 1 right or 1 across and 2 down. I'll explain the movements again in a bit more detail. But basically, that means we're going to move each of these points 1 right and 2 down. So that point moves to there. That point moves to there. This point moves 1 right and 2 down to there. This point moves 1 right and 2 down. And that point moves 1 right and 2 down. So it ends up looking like, and it's hard to see where everything moved to, but it ends up looking like this. And if you look at every point, every single point has moved 1 across, 1 right, and 2 down. And that's what a vector does. So if you have a translation, it will give you this thing called the vector. Now, we're not doing it to do with translations today. We're doing it slightly differently. We're looking today at this line. This is the vector. This is telling us the movement. It's got magnitude, that's a size, and it's got direction. And that's where that little arrow comes in. So we're looking at the actual vector and the movement that it represents. So in your book, write a title, Vectors, write the date, which is Wednesday the 6th of January. And what I want you to write underneath your title is I want you to write this. Now do it in the middle of the page. It's a big bracket. It's got to fit 2 things in it. So use 2 lines. And this is what we call the general forms. This is just telling us that that's what a vector looks like. Now, I want you to show that the top number stands for these 2 directions. And if he's going backwards, it's going to go negative. So you need to be really careful that you copy this really carefully and accurately. And if it goes right, it'll be a positive number. And I'll show you what I mean with this example in a minute. The bottom number is going to give you up or down. If it's a negative number, it's going to give you a downwards movement. If it's a positive number, it's going to give you an upwards movement. Okay, so this, it's really important to understand what I'm saying there, because this is the bit where you might have to go back and look at it. So if we look at this example underneath, now if you're going to draw it accurately. Make sure it's going 3 squares across and 1 square up, and make sure the arrows go in the correct direction. Okay, so let's look at how we describe this. So what we're looking at is this movement from A to B. And the way they write it is like this. A to B, and they put an arrow above it to say from A to B. And that's the notation. Now, have we gone left or right? When we've moved from A, have we gone across to the right or left? Well, we've gone across to the right. And you're not really looking at the slant, you're looking at going straight across, and we've gone across 3. So that's going to be on the top number, because the top number is left or right, and it's going to be a 3. It's going to be positive because we're moving in that direction. Then we haven't got to B yet, so how else do we move? Well, from here, we go 1 up. Now, when we're going up, we do a positive, so it's just going to be 1. So that line there would be represented by the vector 3, 1. It's 3 to the right and 1 up. To get from A to B, I go 3 to the right and 1 up. And the vector, the line, just describes that movement. Okay, let's have another look at this one. Okay, so the first one we're looking at is A. We want A as a column vector. If you notice, that's the one that we just did. It goes 3 across and 1 up. 3 to the right and 1 up. Now let's have a look at B. Okay, so B It starts up here. Look at the arrow. It's going that direction. So it starts up here. So how are we moving to get down here? We're moving 2 down. Now, I've done the bottom bit first. Well, that's okay. I can see it's moving 2 down, so I'll put a -2 on the bottom because the bottom number always describes the up or down. It's going down, so it's negative. And I'm going 1 across. Now, that's 1 to the right because I went from here to here. So that must be a positive. Now, when you're looking at that one, you could always try and do the across first. You can always say, right, I'm starting from there, right, which way am I going across first? All right, yeah, I'm going 1 to the right and I'm going 2 down. And you can use the arrows if you like. Have a think about which way would help you most. Now let's look at C. So C, have a look at the arrow. I'm starting here and I'm moving towards the other end of the line. Let's do the left or right first. So first, am I going that way or that way? Well, we can see I'm going to the left. Now, when we go to the left, remember you've got it all in this blue bubble at the top. When I go to the left, it's got to be negative. So it's negative, and how many do I go? 1, 2, 3, 4. -4. Then from there, where do I go? I'm moving upwards. Upwards must be positive. It's in that blue bubble. I'm moving upwards 2. Upwards is positive, so I'm going to do a 2. So just you've got lots of things to remember. That top number is left or right. That bottom number is up or down. And then you're going to have to keep looking at this to remember which way is positive and which way is negative. It is the ways you'd expect. Across, forwards, right is positive, backwards is negative, and up is positive and downwards is negative. So it is what you expect. And then the final one we're looking at is D. So let's have a look at D. Now look at the arrow. D starts up here. And it goes down to there. Now, does it go across anything? It doesn't move left or right, so that's a 0. It moves down by 1. It's going down, so that's a -1. That's all you're doing today. You're just describing the movement of these vectors. Now, I'm on live today. There is a link in your Firefly where you can click onto the meeting and come in live with me. So if you're struggling and you want me to explain this to you again, you can do. Come onto the live Teams link and get help with me. If something's not working or you're struggling, email me because I'll be able to reply to the email as well. Just give me a minute to make sure. I might be doing a few things at the same time. The work you need to go and do now to show me whether you've understood this or not is Hegarty Maths 623. I have set it for you. So you will just need to look in your tasks and look for Hegarty Maths clip 623. You don't need to send me a picture of your work. I can see if you've done it on Hegarty Maths. Remember, on Hegarty Maths, I can see if you've watched his video and I can see how long you've taken on the task. Should take you about 20 minutes. So you've got this video to watch, then your Hegarty Maths clip. And if you've got a bit more time, the lesson should be 50 minutes to an hour. If you've got a bit more time, do a memory clip as well. Or one of your Hegartys from your yellow book. Remember, I will be live on Teams to help you if you need it. Follow the link in your Firefly task. Or email me. Email me if you need any help. Thanks, folks. Have a good day.